Howdy everyone, welcome to the Golf Score Studio channel. In this video, I'm going to introduce the brand new template builder. We are super excited to finally showcase what we think is a game-changing feature that takes our platform to the next level for our users. So without further ado, I'll show you what this new template builder is, what it can do for you, and then I'll transition more into a demo or tutorial style video. Alright, diving right in, you'll see that we are on the My Builds page of the builder. And what you'll see is I've got a whole bunch of different designs that I have designed myself using the builder. And if we head over to the studio and open a project, and on the selection page we'll see this is the new My Templates, and you'll see that I've got all of my builds to pick from. Then if we move over into the design page, you can see we've got this one and this one. Using my example data right here, I'm going to go ahead and export. And just like with any of the built-in templates, it'll export as a zip file, and we can go ahead and check to see. Here we are, and then hole 1, stroke 1. We've got driver, here's stroke 3, 8-foot putt for par. So yeah, it exports like any other built-in, and then it also is wired up with all of the customization, and you're able to do all of that here as well. From the landing page, you can get to the builder by scrolling down to the Tools and Ecosystem and clicking Explore, or we have a dedicated section to the builder. Or if you'd like to, the shortcut is in the header. You just go to Tools, and here's the builder right here. Open that, and that'll take you to my build page where you can edit your existing builds, delete, duplicate, or start new builds. So let's jump into an existing template. And what you'll see are these are blinking up here just to get your attention drawn to them. This left one is the keyboard controls where you can switch between Mac and PC. These are just good to know and helpful for fine-tuning. And then this is the video tutorials. It'll link to the playlist on YouTube, which is where this video exists. On the left side, we have the bank of the different elements that you can drop onto a canvas, just like that. And then on the right side, we have the reflection of the inputs that the elements on the canvas are. So we've got the score right here, the player name, and you'll see how they highlight. Also, this looks a lot like what you'll see in the manual tab in the studio, and you can actually get a little capture preview here too. Up at the top with nothing selected, we'll see the palette and the type and the export behavior. And then when you have something selected, it'll show you all the different configurations that you can get for that specific element. So right here, this type is the different categories, and this is based mostly on like the vibe of the template. So I've got this one as the scorecard, and you'll see it says limited support because the other scorecards in the category, the built-in ones, those have like a grid, and this one doesn't. This one's pretty simple. It's just got the name and the score. But it still kind of fits this scorecard vibe, so that's why I picked it. This will also be used for categorizing builds once you have a bunch and have some selected in a batch. Let's take a look at the export behavior because that's super important. It'll tell you, based on the elements in your build, this template will export one PNG per player on every hole. So we've got player and the hole, and then the elements that are driving that are the player photo, score, and the player name. And that's because all of these indicate and are unique to a player. And then you have score, which is unique to a hole. If I were to add something like a stroke indicator here, well, then we can see that the export behavior has now changed to one every shot because we have the shot, which is driven by the stroke indicator because this shows the number of shots. So yeah, make sure you're paying attention to the export behavior so that you're not surprised when you actually do carry your build over to the studio and export with it. So I'm not going to cover every single element in this bank because it's going to take some experimenting. You're going to have to play around with it, and some of these are just pretty self-explanatory. This whole thing is supposed to feel intuitive and kind of like the other designing platforms that everyone knows. But I will go ahead and show you a couple of them. This one is the Polygon. So it starts off as a triangle, but you can edit points and you can drag them and freeform them. If you want to add another side, you just click this green dot and you're able to do all that. And so when you finish with a shape that you like, you can do all of that, and then you can even save it to shapes, and now you're able to repeat. And then just like with any other shape, you can give it a fill. We've got gradients, and you can give it a stroke or like an outline. And yeah, so play around with it, it's fun, and that's how the polygon works. You can see in this design that we've actually got the image, which will be a shape in this case, not to be confused with a static image. And you'll see I've got it set to the player photo, but if I set it to the logo, then it would change to the logo. And what this means is that whenever you carry this over to the studio, you're actually able to upload an image here, whereas a static image is baked in, like you can't change that. But the way the logos and the player images work for the built-ins, it's just like this, where you can go to the panel and you can upload your image and it'll show right there for you. This is just the default. And like with other shapes, you're able to make some adjustments to the way it is laid out. The static image is really cool. You can do a lot with the static image. You can bake your logo into a design so you don't have to upload it every single time, or you can do backgrounds. I'll get into this more later because there's a lot of cool things that you can do with this, and it needs its own chapter of this video. Another detail are the variants that some of these have. If they have like this little caret arrow, that means they've got a couple or a few different variants. So here's a good example. We've got whole. It can just be the number, or it can have the whole label, or it can be the ordinal. And all the way at the very bottom, we've got the smart components. And the only one we have right now is the stroke indicator. This ties in with why you see limited support for the scorecard and the scoreboard. That's because they have their own smart components, being those like grids of the scorecard and the scoreboard. We haven't built those yet, but we have built the stroke card, so stroke cards have full support. There's a lot that you can do with the stroke indicator. A big thing to get right is the sizing, because this does change sizes on its own. So with 8 shots, you can see that this will determine at what number the wrap takes place. You can get vertical if you want, or fully horizontal, but you just want to make sure that you're aware of the behavior here. And you can also align to the center or left justified. We've also got some styles, so you will recognize the circle and the rect because the built-in templates have those, but we've got some new styles to showcase here. So here you can see the underline style, pretty self-explanatory. The active stroke is the one that gets underlined. Another style we have is the enlarge style, where the active stroke becomes the larger number, and we can actually move into advanced to kind of tweak exactly how this looks. If we want the active size to be larger, well, we can do that in this advanced section here. And then this last one is pretty unique. It is the scoring one, and what that means is it will draw the scoring mark around the active stroke. So right here we've got the birdie, which is 1 circle, but if we were going to get an eagle, then you see we've got the 2, or a bogey with 6. It draws the square, double bogey, and it doesn't add more than 2 rings. So if you're getting an albatross, then it's just gonna be a 2. Each style has its own color arrangements, so make sure that you get all of the colors that you'd like. And when you're setting colors, don't think about it as if these colors are permanent, because remember, this design is also going to work with the custom color options. So instead of thinking of it like this is green, you can think of it more like this is the primary color and the secondary, the background, the text. So when you're adding a new shape and you click the fill, you're picking the token associated with the color. You're able to change the color itself, and here's a good example. This rectangle that fades away, that is green, or the primary token. This over here is also green, but if we change the primary token to red, now you see that all of the instances in which the primary token was used are now red. And so we can assign red or primary, and then we can do a gradient between the primary and the text color, or the primary and the secondary color, and then those will be reflected in the studio when you load it up. The color customizations are driven by this color palette that you create right here. So I hope that makes sense. Alright, this next thing I need to explain is this hide show toggle, and it's pretty technical. You can see hide, show, and the elements that are hiding are the course name, the shot distance, the club choice, and the for tag. And here's that master toggle again. And over on the right side, they have their individual element toggles. So you'll see course name right here. We can turn it off and that layer will go away. Same with the for tag and the rest. And just a fun little fact, if you grab the handle, you can actually reorder the elements in the input panel, and that's reflected in the studio and the manual tab. Just a little fun fact there. And it's not a requirement to have all of these elements in your build. I just chose to support all of them in this build. I wanted to build something that I could plug into the studio and all of my various inputs would be reflected in the export. I built it this way so that when I moved to the studio, I had the option to turn it off. Like course name, I don't want it for this export, I'll turn it off. Or maybe I decide I want to turn shot distance and club choice on. And then I can go into the wizard and add my inputs there so that they'll be reflected in my build because I added those elements to my build. So you see I've got 149 yards and I've put driver here. I'll go ahead and export and then I'll really show you what this whole show hide thing is all about. Okay, here we are in the export. We're looking at hole 1 and you can see we've got the shot distance that we put in is 149 yards and we've got the driver. But what you'll see is that the for tag is gone because it doesn't apply here. We can move to stroke 2 and we'll see that it's there. And if you remember in the builder we added these two below, and this will be a good example of the show and the hide. So you'll see that not only is the text visible, but the shape is also visible here. Whereas in this case, the shape is missing. It is hiding with the text. This one, we didn't assign this one, so it's still there. This shape is not linked with this text the way this shape is linked with this text. So when the for tag goes away, this shape still hangs here and it just looks pointless. It's serving no purpose being here. Back in the builder, and to fix this problem where we can get that shape to hide with that element, the way we can do this is we can click on the shape and it'll say hide with, and we'll just click this drop down right here. We can click for tag, or because the other elements are present, we can select from either one of those, but since we're going to hide it with the for tag, we'll select that one right there. And now you can see that whenever I toggle between the show and the hide, it goes with it. We can also target it individually, and you'll see that it's totally linked up. Hopefully I've explained well enough how to link these dynamic elements with shapes so that they can hide together. That way you don't have shapes just floating off randomly, serving no purpose. It's one of the more technical things about the builder. And if it's still not making sense, I am about to do an entire walkthrough coming up next. So if it doesn't make sense now, maybe I'll do a better job explaining it the second time around. Here we are on a fresh build. Throw down this rectangle. We'll be designing a stroke card today, just straight from the dome. I'll go ahead and add this static image right here and give it the same shape. Make sure it's overlapping this rectangle, and then I'll hit upload and I'll pick my picture. I've got this steel panel, riveted steel look, so we'll try and make something work out of this. Change the opacity, lower that so that that rectangle color comes through. Now you'll see I am changing the color of the token itself, this primary color. Thinking it looks like a good blue right there. See, I group it, ungroup it. Changing the corner radius. Alright, throw down this ellipse right here. If you hold shift while you move, it keeps the scaling locked in place so that you can keep a square or a circle. Just gonna put this right up here and do a stroke and fill it with nothing so that it makes like this ring look. Play around with the colors here. And I'll go ahead and throw this image right inside. This will be one that is a logo, or you can use it however you'd like, but it's going to call itself a logo. Just get it positioned inside this circle here, and change the corner radius to 100% so that the image itself is a circle. Alright, there we go. Gonna group all of that. And then let's add a player name. Give it some styles. You'll see I'm just going to kind of play around with what looks good. Right now I'm trying to figure out if I want it centered in this little like background image of the top panel, or if one line or two lines looks better. It depends on the length of the text, because you see up at the top versus when it wraps. So I've chosen the name Thomas Jefferson, and that's what I'll be styling to. Because if you're building a template for yourself, you know what your name is, so you can style it around yourself. Same with like the stroke indicator here. If you know that you're like a triple bogey player, well then you're going to design a template that has a little bit more room for those higher scoring holes. So right here I'm just playing around with the colors for the stroke indicator, seeing what I like, seeing what matches. I've noticed that I got a secondary and a background color that are the same exact color. So I'm going to do a little trick to try and find which one's used more, and then I'll delete the one that's used less. So it looks like that pink one. Now I'm just renaming those. Going to add this ordinal variant for the whole number, and give it the same look as the player name. One mistake that I made here was I forgot to set the font, so you'll notice that I'll style it right up. Check to see 18th, make sure that's bits. It's always good to check to see that the values will actually fit instead of wrapping down. So got that there. That's the par, but then I realize the circles kind of tell you what the par is. So I just delete the par and then I'll add distance instead. Because 5 circles means it's a par 5. Okay, then I try and achieve this same kind of popping out look with the stroke indicator, just to see if it looks good. Mostly just playing around. I think I landed on that style right there. Now we got to add the score, make sure that it's got enough room. Type in a score here, a realistic score. There we go. And we'll actually see, like, try and give it that same look. Decide that it looks better centered. And then here I am trying to build the 4 tag little banner that says 4 birdie, 4 bogey. Just trying to style it up. I start off thinking that it would look good with that popping out look, but at some point I change my mind and I just get rid of it. Add the 4 tag text element. Make sure I give it plenty of room. I center it, and then I give it the color. You'll see
that I click on that banner, and then I go up into the bar and I see the hide with, and I select 4tag. So now that means when I turn that 4tag toggle off, the banner and the text, they both are linked up. Testing out the sizing here, double bogey. So again, design around how you play. Right now we're gonna name it and take it over to the studio, and you'll see we've got it right here. It loads up just right, just the way we had it looking. It says player name instead of our Thomas Jefferson, but we know that if we go ahead and give ourselves our name of Thomas Jefferson, then when it exports, it'll look just fine. Go over here to the colors and change the colors to whatever you'd like. Hit that reset button and it'll take you back to the original styles. You can upload your image there. And I've got some data, so let's generate. And here you see, first hole, just working through all the shots. There you go. That's our brand new design from scratch. Another thing that you can use a static image for, and this is really cool, is if you've already got a design somewhere, wherever it exists, and it doesn't have any elements on it like text or something, you can take just the skeleton or the template of it and use that as your backdrop. And then you can just take the layers and put that over the design, so you can just import your design stat, then load it up in here and get it all hooked up. Use it with the generator and generate all those exports really quickly.
And there you have it. That's the builder. Now you know how it works and that it lets you design your own templates for your own use during export. I highly encourage you to get in here and play around with it, see what you can create. Take advantage of the builder while it's still in beta, and be on the lookout for the community tab that's coming soon. Maybe you can go ahead and build up a whole bunch of designs, and then once the community tab launches, you can publish those and try and find yourself up on the monthly podium to win a prize. Let us know what you think down in the comments. We're super excited once again to finally be able to release this for its beta debut. Thank you all for your support. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.